In the final years of the 24th century, Robert Kurita took the reins of power from his deceased father and became the fourth coordinator of the Draconis Combine. Already he had established a brutal reputation for himself, having murdered his sister's peasant lover, Werner von Rose, and so those around him prepared for the worst. Looking on enviously at the fighting going on in the rimward area of the Inner Sphere, Robert Kurita began planning his own offensive against the Lyran Commonwealth. His plan called for a feigned push towards the Lyran capital of Arcturus, along the border between the Federation of Sky and the Tamar Pact, where the defences were weakest. But after the Lyrans moved to defend their capital, the Kuritans would swing to the left and aim to meet a second push coming from the direction of the Terran hegemony, thereby isolating a large chunk of the Federation. The first phase of the campaign, beginning in January 2407, got off to a great start for the Draconis Combine. It wasn't until Morningside that the Lyran Commonwealth was able to muster enough of a defence to stop their advance. Worried that losing Arcturus would cause the collapse of the Lyran administration, Alistair Marsden made the decision to move the capital to his homeworld of Tharkad, leaving the construction of this new government complex to his new wife, Catherine Steiner. Meanwhile, Lyran intelligence had pinpointed the location of a major staging post on Vega. Recognizing the threat of a second wave, Marsden launched a preemptive raid in early 2408, devastating the unprepared defenders. Wheeling back around to respond to calls for aid coming from Menkent, Alistair arrived to reinforce the beleaguered defenders on January 28th, where he took personal command of the 311th Sky Armoured Cavalry. Morale was high, and the fledgling Lyran armed forces seemed to be finally coming together behind their Archon. 3 days later, Alistair was killed during an attack. While the Lyran command reeled from this loss, Catherine quickly seized control of the Archon ship. She was able to free more forces by inviting the Terran hegemony to station its own troops on the jointly held worlds that they had negotiated with their neighbours, a practice the hegemony had employed in other areas of the Inner Sphere as well. On Leon, the HAF was able to repulse a Kurita attack, but this was the only confrontation between the two. Catherine was able to secure her seat of power by dispatching her major rivals to the front lines. In March, they were able to win a major victory at Meacham, but in due course all would be counted among the list of casualties. Controversially, Catherine also reverted her name from Marsden back to Steiner, and her son Alistair would be known as Marsden Steiner. Robert Kurita's campaign was finally abandoned in 2409, but raids between the two nations continued, perpetuating the constant state of war developing across the Inner Sphere. An assassin's bullet to the head would spell the end for Robert Kurita in 2412, with the coordinatorship passing to his brother. His campaign had not made a single notable gain for the Draconis Combine, and yet, unknown to himself at his time of death, he would perhaps make the single greatest impact on House Kurita of any individual since Shiro himself. First, he had unleashed House Steiner, mortal enemy of the Kuritans, onto the Inner Sphere. Second, after the birth of his nephew Nihongi von Rose, his prior actions would result in the near extinction of his house.